Hey everybody, welcome back to Compliance with Kudzai. I'm thrilled to be here today to give you a new video on something I realized I might have neglected to communicate, share with you when I started this channel. And I think it's a very important thing that we cover, and that is, what does a compliance officer actually do? I've spoken to you about the individual skills that you need, soft skills, technical skills, but I've never actually described at a high level what it is that a compliance officer does. And I think it's really important to do that, especially for people who are, new to the concept of compliance risk management or thinking of entering the compliance field from a totally different career. It's important for you to have a good understanding of what it is that your role entails. And that is what I will be describing to you today. So stay with me. There's sort of three buckets that I'm going to be going through, and I think each of them are really important for you to understand. But before we jump into that, thank you again to all the new subscribers, to all my long-standing subscribers, everybody who's supporting this channel. Really do appreciate you. Click the button and subscribe. I know the number of views versus the number of subscribers not balancing. So if you've been on the fence, please do press that subscribe button and also click on the notification bell, because I am a little bit inconsistent with uploading videos. So you definitely want to click on the notification bell so that when I do, like today, find some time and have a window to do it, you get to know about it immediately as soon as it's uploaded. And of course, like as always. So let's jump into it now that we've gotten all of the pleasantries out of the way. So let's talk about what it is that the job of a compliance officer is. What is it that you do? So first and foremost, you're going to execute on the compliance program. So in one of my other videos, I was describing compliance framework versus compliance program. Be sure to watch it wherever the link will appear, and you'll understand what the framework is. It sets out what the role of compliance it is and how it's going to be structured in an organization. And then the compliance program is exactly what's going to be put in place and run by compliance to, implement the different measures to manage regulatory risk. So your job as a compliance officer is to take your compliance program and implement it within a business. So that would be, executing a risk management plan, compliance risk management plan, doing the risk identification and risk assessment. We've talked about that as well. The videos are available. And making sure you're identifying risks, analyzing and evaluating risks, and then putting in place, along with your business, appropriate controls to manage those risks. You're also going to put in place your policies and procedures. You'd be familiar with things like an anti-money laundering and counter-terrorist financing policy and procedure, conflicts of interest policy and procedure, data protection, and all sorts of anti-corruption, anti-competition, anti-bribery and corruption, all the different policies that we need to put in place to make sure that there is awareness and the company's position around how we are managing risk and the expectations around that are communicated to all the employees in an organization. So we are responsible for implementing those policies, monitoring adherence to those policies, reporting on the, compliance health status of an organization, delivering training with regards to the different policies and regulatory requirements that apply excuse me, to a business. So that essentially is your compliance program. Again, if you want to get a bit more depth on what constitutes a compliance program, you can go and watch the video, and I go into it in a lot of depth there. So essentially, we've got our functional program as compliance officers that we execute to put in place measures to manage compliance risk, and also increase awareness around regulatory requirements and those same measures and internal controls that have been put in place so that everybody is singing from the same hymn sheet. So our responsibility is around implementing that compliance program. Now, aside from the implementation of that compliance program, we also guide the business. We provide an advisory service to the business on a day-to-day basis. So as the business is operating day by day, month by month, they're going to have situations and issues that they need to get your guidance on, whether it's a particular transaction, whether it's the nature, an interaction with a particular client, a suspicious transaction report, or even if it's as simple as getting interpretation of a compliance policy. I've had situations where you get a call from a stakeholder, an employee in the firm, and saying, a customer has offered me this gift. It's Christmas time. Am I allowed to accept it? And your compliance policy or your code of conduct says that actually the gift, if it's an excessive, a Rolex watch or something like that, is in excess of what is acceptable to receive, or, it's a bunch of flowers and a slab of chocolate, that is appropriate. So it's also about, on a day-to-day basis, helping people make the right choices in order to manage exposure to risk. That's why we attend the meetings, sit in the room when they're talking about, current the initiatives and things that they want to be doing as a business. And then we're advising them, actually, from a regulatory perspective, this is what the law says we can and can't do. From a risk perspective, we need to implement these internal controls around that specific thing. So it's just about guiding the business, because you are the subject matter expert when it comes to compliance risk management. So you have a seat at the table and advise them on a day-to-day basis to minimize the risk that decisions are going to be taken. Customers are going to be treated a certain way that is misaligned with what the regulatory expectation is. So your day-to-day role is to advise the business and have your hand on the pulse, so to speak, and make sure that everything is being done in accordance with what the law requires. The third thing is now more at a strategic level. So when you are engaged with your business leaders and they're telling you that we are looking to get into these markets in the next 3 years, or in the course of this season, we are looking to increase our customer base from that target customer to this target customer, looking forward as a business and what they're aiming at. Your job is to then help them with that strategic directions and inform them of the risks associated in terms of if it's a jurisdiction that they're going into, this is the risk profile of the jurisdiction. These are the regulatory requirements associated with doing business in that jurisdiction, and guiding the business as it takes more of a long-term view as opposed to your, day-to-day initiatives about where it's wanting to go, and advising them that, listen, this is the risk assessment of what it is that you are attempting to do, and what do we need to put in place and comply with to make sure that we can achieve that business objective within the framework of the law. So our role is very much advisory. We do have our own compliance program that we're executing, and that runs side by side concurrently with our advisory role, where we are the subject matter expert from a regulatory perspective, and helping them to understand and make decisions that are aligned with that. So that would include things like doing due diligence on potential partners. If they say, we're looking to outsource this potential function and not have it in-house anymore, there's a lot of that happening in lots of industries at the moment. You would say, okay, we're going to be outsourcing to this third party. I need to do a third party risk assessment. So it's really about constantly walking the journey alongside your business and saying, I have my compliance hat on at all times, and my role is to help you stay aligned and operate your business within the framework of the law on a day-to-day basis, and also looking forward into the future, so that, they're not running ahead and making decisions and then having to pump the brakes, because they didn't get the correct advice or they missed an important license that they needed to obtain. So essentially, we are a support function for the business, and we enable business by helping them to make good decisions around the direction that they want to, as well as tactically on a day-to-day basis, to achieve what it is that the business wants to achieve within the parameters of the law. What we are not, got a frog in my throat. What we are not is there to just say, stop, don't do business, The rule says you can't do this. That is not the role of a compliance officer. You are not the policeman. You are not looking for criminals. Your role is to, well, unless you work in a business with criminals, then that's a whole other story. But your role essentially is to say, how do I enable the business and support the business, but making sure that that is done in compliance with the laws and regulations. Your role is to find solutions when there are challenges and the law says, oh, it places limitations on you. Is this somewhere where you lobby for your organization with your regulator and say, this particular law does not work for our size business? Maybe the spirit and intention of the law was to deal with larger entities, significant to systemically important companies and things like that, and lobby for exemptions or relaxations of the rules for your organization. That might be something that you do as well. So it's about really seeing what is fit for purpose. Where is it that the rules are black and white, and we need to make sure that we're sticking within black and white? And where is it that maybe black and white is not necessarily appropriate from your business? And I'm not saying you start operating in gray areas. It just means that you start lobbying, you seek exemptions, you have the necessary conversations, and demonstrate to your regulators how you can achieve the spirit of what it is that they wanted the law to achieve, but not necessarily being forced to play in the same boundaries necessarily as your bigger players, who most of the time that's what the law is trying to target and prevent them from being shady, essentially. So as a compliance officer, you need to be able to have a dynamic approach to things. You need to be able to think creatively about problem solving. Your primary goal is support the business while achieving regulatory compliance. That essentially is what you do. So you have to educate yourself about the laws and regulations that apply to your business, the nature of your business, the context of your business at the end of the day, and then always be solution focused, but staying within those boundaries of we're achieving what the business needs to achieve within the framework and parameters of regulatory compliance. Okay. I hope that has given you a clearer picture around what it is that a compliance officer's role is. If you've got specific questions, pop them in the chat, in the comments, not the chat, the comments, and I will respond to that. And it's important to also note that the role of and what we do and how we do it is evolving with the, emergence of regulatory technology and various other innovations that are helping us be more efficient and great at what it is that we do. So maybe I need to do another video about the, impact of AI and technology on what it is that we do. Maybe that one will be next. But thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it gave you some not hope. I know it will help you have a lot more clarity around what it is that a compliance officer does. You execute your compliance program, you support the business day to day with BAU tactical level kind of compliance, this transaction, this customer, this issue, this data breach, you help them with this regulatory inspection. You help them through that, but you also are advising them on the decisions they're making about the future, the level of risk that is. You're helping them understand that and frame the business in a way that it is compliant with the regulations, both currently and going into the future. All right, everybody, have a fantastic rest of the day, and I will talk to you soon, and I will see you in the comments. Bye.